Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the special council meeting on December the 14th, 2023. Individuals interested in participating in this meeting were eligible to register online using the delegation registration form at www.kitchener.ca/delegation or via email at delegation@kitchener.ca. Any written comments that have been received prior to the meeting would have been circulated prior to the meeting to members of council and will form part of the public record. The meeting live stream and archived videos are available at www.kitchener.ca/watchnow. Before we begin this morning's meeting, I'd like to acknowledge, as we always do, that this morning we're gathering on the traditional territories of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize our responsibility to serve as stewards for the land and honor the original caretakers who came before us. Our community is enriched by the enduring knowledge and deep-rooted traditions of the diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit in Kitchener today. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Councillor Singh?
So, rather not clear about the process, I did declare a conflict on some capital items through capital, but I think because this would be a motion coming from the mayor, and if no amendments are taken, necessarily a conflict isn't necessary, so I'll see how the meeting proceeds and then declare afterwards. I'll look to the clerk for clarity.
So we will, we're going to be taking a motion to receive the budget and direct staff to implement it. Maybe when we do that, we'll do it in two parts and simply note the conflicts.
Noted in capital.
That were noted in capital, if you can fill out the appropriate paperwork.
Sure. Okay.
And do you want to just reiterate the reason?
Yeah, just property owned close proximity to the capital work, and that's on C39 Franklin, C40 Connaught, and C11 Mill and Cortland Community Center Edition. Okay,
great. Thank you, Councillor Singh. There are no delegations, and so actually we'll deal with the budget first, and then I'll deal with the issue of the declaration of the vacancy pertaining to the report. I will also just acknowledge that there was a written submission from the Active Transportation and Trails Advisory Committee that was supportive of the amendments that Council had proposed and that were included in the budget that was presented on December the 4th. As we all recognize, today's budget day is a little different than normal. In light of the new process that the province introduced earlier this year. And so I thought I would simply use it as an opportunity to reiterate some of the comments I made on the 4th, and then any comments that members of council have. And then, as I said, we would have a motion to, based on this new process from the province, simply receive the budget and direct staff to implement it. As I indicated on the 4th, Kitchener is an innovative, caring, and vibrant city. It's a place for everyone, a place where people come from across Canada and the world to put down roots. They're joining vibrant neighbourhood communities and enriching them with new businesses, cultures to celebrate, and innovative ideas to share. It's a place where people have a passion for city building. They're inspired by what Kitchener is becoming, and they want to be a part of its vibrant future. By embracing new people and perspectives, Kitchener has always been on the cutting edge. When Kitchener tries something new, the world follows. We're the anchor of Canada's innovation corridor, and our startup density is second only to Silicon Valley. We're the fastest growing startup ecosystem in Canada, creating 30,000 tech jobs in the past 20 years. With a population of more than 270,000 people, Kitchener is the urban center of our region. We're connected to the city of Waterloo and part of the region of Waterloo. We're also connected to the city of Cambridge and the 4 townships within our region. The region's post-secondary school system is the core of our tech industry, and with 100,000 students in the region, there are new ideas and newer skill sets available every day. This new talent feeds into the world's largest free startup incubator, Velocity, located in the Communitech Hub. As was noted, on July 1st, the Ontario government introduced new legislation pertaining to local governments, and that included how budgets are handled. While this legislation required that the mayor is responsible for proposing the municipal budget, throughout this process we've endeavoured to do it in a manner consistent with the collaborative approach that has historically existed between council and staff in our work. And based on that, direction was given earlier this year to staff to prepare a draft budget informed by council and community priorities and in alignment with the city's approved financial guidelines and policies. That draft budget was presented for council consideration and discussion at meetings held on November 20th and 27th for operating and capital budget respectively. And a number of ideas and issues were brought forth by members of council that were considered in the draft budget presented on December the 4th. As I said on the 4th, I want to thank Chair Scott Davey and Vice Chair Bill Ioannidis for their leadership and support in these meetings, and all of council for your engagement throughout the process. In addition to these discussions, the public was also provided with opportunities to provide feedback on the budget, and those have also been shared with council. As noted, this year, as in past years, staff have prepared an annual operating budget and 10-year capital forecast for council's consideration. That budget helps identify our spending plans and priorities for the municipality for the upcoming year and is informed by our city's strategic plan, various master plans, and feedback from the community. The 2024 budget continues to be impacted by higher than normal inflation, but still aims to address priorities that are important to the City of Kitchener. Similar to 2023, challenging economic conditions persist and are expected to continue into 2024, with inflation remaining higher than normal, hovering around 4%. The economy is still feeling the lingering effects of the global pandemic while reacting in real time to increasing geopolitical tensions due to conflicts around the world. This fragile environment has resulted in price volatility, translating into increases impacting the cost of labor and materials, and these pressures have had an impact on the cost of city services. Recognizing these pressures, along with the high interest rate environment that we are experiencing, has created affordability challenges for many. Staff have prepared a budget that maintains current service levels while at the same time balancing the need for reasonable rate increases and investing in the strategic priorities that Council has identified. For the past few years, the city has used a 2-year inflation average as a benchmark to assess whether the proposed property tax increase is reasonable. And the budget that's before you contemplates an increase of 3.9%, which is well below the 2-year average of 5.3% in Ontario. This demonstrates the balanced approach that staff and council have always tried to achieve when preparing the budget. The draft budget that was originally presented to us at operating and capital budget days by staff saw members of council bring forward a number of suggestions, and the budget that was presented on December 4th included an additional $1.6 million being allocated to fund strategic priorities. This funding will support $400,000 for additional traffic calming and trail connections in neighbourhoods, $200,000 to develop an arena energy strategy as part of our city's Corporate Climate Action Plan 2.0, $300,000 to move forward with 2 additional playground replacements, $200,000 to develop a municipal newcomer strategy, including community engagement, $300,000 to improve access and increase usage at Cameron Heights Pool, and $200,000 for the implementation of a citywide data strategy to build organization-wide data practices to deliver better services for residents. Council then, following that presentation of that budget on the 4th, were requested to provide any proposed 2024 budget amendments to the City Clerk no later than Monday, December 11th, to be included on the special council agenda in advance of the meeting. No such budget amendments were received by the close of business on Monday, or since then, for that matter. As such, Under the provincial's process, the city's budget would now be considered adopted. However, in an effort to complete the process as we've done it in terms of a collaborative approach, there will be a motion that Chair Davey will be bringing forward to receive the budget and direct staff to implement it as the budget outlines. I'll come to that motion in a moment, but before I do, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge our staff who have done, I think, incredible work, particularly as we've had to navigate this new process, starting with our Chief Financial Officer, Jonathan Lautenbach, our Director of Financial Planning and Asset Management, Ryan Hagee, and our Manager of Budgets, Debbie Andrade. Along with their team of budget analysts, Ruth Ann Getz, Tanya Cable, Becky Hamilton, and Brad Palmer. Of course, a budget involves more than these 7 individuals in the organization. It involves many others, including our members of our corporate leadership team, many staff within their departments who help inform the budget process, our clerks team, some of whom are here and diligently supported us through the process, our comms teams, who in the room is represented by Bethany, but obviously others who supported that, as well as our OMC team who support council through this process. And so I want to thank them and all the staff who have been part of this process, which I think probably goes over about, is it 8 months or so, Ryan? Yeah, it's about an 8-month process. So thank everyone for the work that's been done in that regard. And I again want to reiterate my thanks to council who engaged in this process in a meaningful way, brought forward, I think, constructive ideas and suggestions, and I'm pleased that we've been able to include those in here. I think, as we all know, this has been a new process. It's not one that I'm necessarily a fan of, to be quite frank, but it's one that we are obligated to work through, and I think we found a way to try to do it as close to the past processes that we've used for the budget to make it as collaborative as possible. So with that, I think I will go to Finance Chair Davey to bring forward the motion, and then I will open the floor to any comments from members of council, rather. Councillor Davey. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. The motion is brief and is on the screen before you. It's just simply that the Mayor's 2024 budget be received, and further that staff be directed to implement the proposed 2024 budget. And now would be the appropriate time to make comment.
Absolutely. And do I have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Singh. Thank you.
Yeah, so
you're seconding everything except the parts that you have a conflict under, and those Councillor Johnson will second. So just want to make sure I catch that. Now back to you, Councillor Davey.
Yeah, no, that was a good catch. So it's, yeah, I think I'm sounding like a bit of a broken record from past budgets, but there's a few things I think I'd like to acknowledge anyway, even though it has been said in the past. The first and foremost is the work that's done by our staff through this process. This is I don't know, I lost track of how many years, decade plus, where we've been under the rate of inflation, and among the lowest, I think probably the lowest in terms of the total tax increase among our municipal peers. And that doesn't happen by accident. We built a culture, I think, of discipline and efficiency that led by our CAO, but adopted wholeheartedly by, I think, staff-wide. And it's really important, because the most important thing we can do in situations like we find ourselves in now with escalating costs of housing and groceries and everything else is to make sure that we minimize that burden. And the fact that our tax increase is some 3% lower than a lot of what we're seeing around locally is the most important thing I think we can do in this time. Having said that, what impresses me most throughout these many, many years is that we've done it not by cutting on our services. We've actually increased. We've been advancing strategic priorities, as you can see throughout this budget. And again, I think it all goes back to that culture of frugality and discipline and efficiency that I will always be thankful for. I think it's also really important to note there were 0 amendments brought forward from the Mayor's budget. That says an awful lot about this this council and our collaborative process and how we work through it. I actually find that amazing that there's not a single amendment. I mean, I realize that, you know, this budget isn't exactly what any one of us wants, but I'm confident that it's what we collectively want, and that's why there's no amendments before us. And I think that's a testament to not only to our council's collaborative process, but to you, Mr. Mayor, in terms of listening and addressing the concerns that you heard as we went throughout this process, and not having to exercise that strong mayor power. I mean, I'm supportive of some strong mayor powers in principle. It's never made logical sense to me that you know, you get the same vote as having a citywide mandate as any one of us does at 1/10 the city. But by the same token, I think having to invoke that power is really a failure of leadership. It means that you didn't bring your council along. And the fact that you didn't have to do that speaks to the leadership. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Councillor Singh.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And kind of carrying on with that theme as articulated by Councillor Davey, I do want to thank you as well as, of course, our finance staff and the corporate leadership team. The fact that this is an 8-month process, Ryan, you and your team will have a couple months off, and then you're at it again. So, and it is a long collective process which takes into account the active engagement and discussion that this council has, and the fact that there weren't any amendments to the presented budget goes to show the budget was presented based on the priorities collectively set out throughout by this council through our strategic plan, which was a collaborative presentation of our ideology and the direction that we want our community to take. And I raised this through early on in the budget process, saying, looking at the 3.9 rate and some of the strategic priorities that are being added to the budget, we could have come lower. But that's not necessarily advisable, just to go for the bare minimum, the basic. We are a vibrant community. We are attracting newcomers, not just globally, which we are, but more importantly, many from our peer communities, not too far from the GTA, because we do have that vibrancy, because we do have a vibrant economy, because we do have, more importantly, which goes to my heart, a caring community. We go out of our way to seek input. We go out of our way to add services that our community is seeking. I think we are leaps and bounds ahead when it comes to our community services strategy, Love My Hood, our trails management, our cycling network. All of that goes towards building a community of the future and a community that people want to live in. So when we have set out our priority to make sure that our budget comes below the rate of inflation or the 2-year average, and we accomplish that, and beyond that, we're able to significantly improve the services in our community, that's a compliment to our staff. And it's a compliment collectively to us as a council, because we have worked with staff in outlining exactly what the needs and priorities of our community are. So we are essentially approving a budget that is meeting, again, the strategic plan, and that's meeting the basics of what our community has set out, what's important to them. One more thing I just quickly want to add, and this needs to be noted. When we are adding 3 new playgrounds, this is something that's asked from us continually when residents see playgrounds that haven't been changed over 40 years. We're putting in that significant cost, and costs have come up quite a bit. So it's not an easy task to do, but we're adding 3 new playgrounds. And when we look at the data strategy, it's a capital cost, but that goes to what Councillor Davey said. It's about efficiency and well management that will go towards having better data to know exactly where the money needs to be spent, and more importantly, using the changes in technology to provide effective services, but at a lower cost coming in the future, so that we can continue meeting the mandate of at or below rate of inflation. And more importantly, the newcomer strategy is something I early on encourage. Because again, with the pace that we're growing, we want to make sure that all those that are coming to our community, be it from abroad, be it from other cities, they are brought into the fold as quickly as possible so they can be, contributing to the well-being of the community, and more importantly, they have a buy-in. They know exactly where the services are, but more importantly, where they can give back as well. And that's what's going to make us better. So once more, Mr. Mayor, I really appreciate the fact that the process was put with the way it was. It's a motion or a budget presented by the mayor, a motion brought by the finance chair, but a budget that's led by this council and with the collaborative work of this corporate team. And just want to thank you all.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you. First, I'll say that I really can't comment on the process because I was not part of it, because I was on leave during the month of November. And on the 4th of December, when the mayor gave his summary of the budget, we were not permitted to comment or ask questions. And I also didn't have the opportunity to engage with my constituents through the public process. So I'm going to abstain, as I feel it would be irresponsible for me to support the budget or the motion at this time. And I realize that's a vote against, but I feel that that's the responsible thing to do in this case.
And that's your prerogative. Councillor, I guess the only thing I would be clear on is that we're not, as per the process that's been identified by the province, we're not approving this budget. We're simply receiving it and directing staff to implement it. So you can make your decisions accordingly, Councillor Chapman. Point of clarification, Councillor Davey?
Yes, Councillor Chapman, just as another option in case you haven't considered it, if you wouldn't like to be on the record as voting against it, it would be your prerogative to perhaps leave the room during the vote, and that way you wouldn't be registered as being opposed.
Well, I thought of doing that. I thought of not coming, but I thought that it was more important to at least make it clear why I'm doing what I'm doing, and so, no, I will remain, but I will not support the motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Deneau.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I just want to, last year I was a deer in the headlights dealing with budget shortly after being elected. This year, it's a new process for all of us. I'm just hoping next year there's not a new process introduced by anybody else, because I'm hoping that by the third year I've got things down packed. But I just want to thank the staff for bringing this forward. I know it's not easy. Trying to balance the needs and the wants of our city, what we hear on a daily basis of, people want one thing and then another person wants another thing, but it all comes down to what's best for the city. I watch other councils across the province, and I'm thankful we are not like other councils across the province. I believe we are a very well-functioning council with staff. We may not always agree, but we're respectful of each other, and I'm thankful for that. 3.9%, lower than last year, lower than most of the other municipalities around us, around the province, and so I'm proud to go out and tell my constituents that, yeah, I voted for a 3.9% increase, tax increase. We're raised. I was like, out of a raise.
Cut that from the minute.
Investment. We're maintaining services, we're maintaining our infrastructure, but we're also enhancing it, by key priorities in the city: playground replacements, increased paved and connections of our trails. We're creating new opportunities for children and their families by installing a designated entrance to the Cameron Heights pool. And so those enhancements are investments. They're investments in our community, investments in our children, in the families, and all the citizens who use every single one of those priorities that I mentioned. And so I think this is a really good budget. I know times are tough out there, but when you look around the rest of the municipalities, again, I think this is easy to pass along to our taxpayers. I actually had somebody email me yesterday saying, I can't believe you guys are proposing an 8% increase, and I was happy enough to reply to her saying, that's not us. we are at 3.9. And so again, thank you for all your hard work around the horseshoe and staff, and that's all I got.
Thank you, Councillor Deneau. Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor Vrivanovic. First of all, I want to thank the citizens of Kitchener. It goes back to our strategic plan for 2023-26. And for every citizen that provided input, for our working group, and I will never forget the night the working group presented their case to council for the strategic plan. This was a diverse working group, diverse in background, diverse in age, diverse in culture. And when they started out, there were some pretty big divides. And I remember asking one of the members, you know, what's the secret to coming to a place of consensus? And she said, we listened. And that was very impactful to me. With our strategic plan, we know what our citizens want. We know the kind of city that we want collectively, a connected city, a green city, an economically thriving city, a caring city, and a better city. So we have those priorities, and then we have things underneath those priorities that will move the needle on each of those priorities. So I want to thank everyone who was involved with the strategic plan, with input. I want to thank our staff for taking all that input and creating a budget that reflects the priorities of the citizens of Kitchener. You know, we're in a position where we've made some tough decisions in the past when it comes to things like infrastructure, and paying a little more years ago has put us in a better position today. We're seeing the impacts and the benefits of the water infrastructure plan, the increased maintenance, the increased investment in it. So we're in a good position when it comes to our infrastructure, and those are the things that we don't see. But taking care of that lets us take care of other things and invest in the arts, provide great events for our city to increase civic pride, improve our parks and our trails, the things that our citizens come to enjoy. And again, on council, I'm so grateful to work with each and every one of you and serve together the citizens of this city. It's wonderful to be able to walk up and down our halls, have discussions, get the phone calls, the texts, sitting over coffee or chicken wings, and finding out, you know, what matters and how we can collectively help each other out to make this a better city. I also want to thank our mayor for your great leadership, your collaborative style, in wanting the best. And, you know, we'll say you see the best in everybody. We all get frustrated from time to time, but you have always remained a positive force and a very enthusiastic supporter of each and every one of us and for the citizens of Kitchener. So thanks to our staff. I want to thank too our staff who do the day-to-day work in keeping our city running. There are so many that do a great job every day, and they do their job so well that we don't notice it. If they weren't doing their job well, we would notice it. So each and every staff member working in all our divisions, thank you so much for carrying out the work that this budget allows them to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schneider. Councillor Michaud.
Thank you. But there's been a lot said, so I just want to take a couple of seconds to thank staff for all your hard work for this budget, and to thank the leadership of the mayor and my council colleagues. We are a pretty good group of council colleagues that will, you know, get things done and agree to disagree at times. But I think that this budget is a well-rounded budget that has the quality of living for our citizens in mind. And I'm just happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Michaud. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor Grbanovic, and I wanted to start as well by saying thank you to staff. I know that every year whenever you do the budget that as soon as you finish this one, you're working on the next one. In fact, if I know the finance team well, you probably have been working on the next one for the last few months as well. So your dedication to doing this and your ability actually to be flexible and to go with all the changes that we're dealing with, both from the community, from the provincial government, from council. Big thank you to all of you. It must be very challenging, and I hope that all of you are able to go home tonight and have your own little celebration because there's another one in the books. What you did, though, is that you listened to residents, you listened to council, and more important, you actually heard that times are challenging for our residents. You've put money into items that are important to caring for our community. Our strategic plan initiatives around a caring community, a newcomer strategy, and a bold economic plan are so important. Not only to look at how we're going to be helping people, but how we actually plan for the future. That's pretty incredible. Putting money towards infrastructure is a pay-it-forward piece and a responsible use of our money, not leaving it for future councils to have to make even more challenging decisions about. Money towards our parks and trails in a time of economic challenges makes so much sense. Our residents are going to have to rely on our infrastructure that's here even more so as we go into, what looks like a challenging 2024 as well. So I wanted to say a big thank you to our staff. Each and every one of you are wonderful. I love working with you, so thank you. I also wanted to say a thank you to council. You're really a good group of people. I enjoy you. You're fun. You want to do good things for this community, and that's at the heart of what you do. And so it really is a pleasure. Even though I might give you a look every once in a while, truly, it's a pleasure to work with all of you. And same thing as well for the mayor. You've been a friend for a long time. You're a good person, and again, thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson, and we've all come to appreciate and love that look from time to time, and it's a good reminder to pause and rethink things when that happens. Councillor Ioannidis, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor Grbanovic, and hopefully I didn't miss too much, but I do have another job of being a parent sometimes. And anyways, I can't reiterate too much of what has been said because I'll be here for a long time. It's all very good. To have us as a council and as a municipality to consistently come under budget or under rate of inflation or within the rate of inflation, it just speaks volumes on the amount of work and commitment the entire organization does, and the willingness. After watching quite a few budget meetings from area municipalities, I've come to appreciate, especially our mayor, I really appreciate the expertise and the resilience that he brings to our community, and I've definitely gained a huge more, I already have this respect, but for our council as a whole, we just seem to know how to get business done and get it done and increase services at the same time. I don't know if we're Jedis or what, but we just seem to get it right. So it's one of my proudest moments as a member of council is consistently delivering, great service and well-performing budgets.
Thank you. I don't see any others in the queue. So I do just want to thank everyone for their comments and for your gracious feedback. And I do want to actually point out one thing. I thanked staff earlier and thanked CLT, but I actually want to go one step farther with respect to our CLT group led by Dan Chapman, our CAO. one of the things that I think, and as I talk to mayoral colleagues across the country, one of the things that I think is very unique to our team is the amount of effort that each and every one of them, the 6 individuals sitting to my left, I guess in front of you or for some of you, but is the efforts that they make to regularly engage with members of council. I can tell you that is not a regular cultural thing in municipalities across this country. And I think many of the things that you spoke about in terms of the collaboration that exists between council and staff is because of that regular contact and the efforts that all of them make in very busy schedules running their departments, but recognizing that an important part of that is engaging meaningfully with council. And so I do want to thank the 6 of you for the efforts that you take in that regard, because I think it does help build the kind of culture we've established here at the city. So with that, the motion has been moved and seconded. I will deal with the whole budget except for the conflicts noted by Councillor Singh. First, sorry, Councillor Johnson? Recorded vote? Okay, we can do that.
Except for the conflicts.
Yes, so this is the non-conflict piece. Oh, sure. Ayo, do you want to tell us?
Can someone click yes for me?
Okay, done.
Thank you.
And so that is carried. And now we'll deal with the piece with the conflicts. And that was moved by Councillor Davies, seconded by Councillor Johnson. And a recorded vote again.
Yes on my end.
Thank you, Councillor O'Dooney. I keep forgetting to go to you first. And that's carried with the noted conflict as well.
Quick question. I didn't see the vote for the first one. Is it possible to see that, Clerk? Or we?
It's gone now, but it was everybody voted except for the abstention, which is a negative vote that Councillor Chapman indicated she would be making.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that gets us through our budget. I'm not, as part of mayoral business and updates, I'm not going to go into a lot on, but I think many of you are aware, we completed the regional budget yesterday evening. It was a long day. And I really do just want to highlight 2 things that from a people-focused approach, I think there were many, I think, good decisions made. I would have liked to have seen the overall rate increase come down lower, but it ended at 6.9%, which was a little more than 1% lower than when we started yesterday. But 2 things that I think are important. One is, as we know, many folks in our community are struggling with food security, and Regional Council did double their contribution to the food bank from $750,000 to $1.5 million for next year. And the other one is, as you know, our council has been very supportive of a Better Tent City since its inception in the midst of COVID. They have not in the past been successful in terms of obtaining funding from the region beyond an initial investment, and we were successful yesterday in getting funding for the next 2 years for them at $236,000, which was their request of the region, and we were able to get that approved. So I was happy to see that happen. Happy to share any other information, and I think all of you can follow the news and the regional update on its own. So I really wasn't sort of looking for questions on that, but I guess there are some. Councillor Johnson, just want to remind people we don't want lunch to get cold, but go ahead.
Thank you. Not so much a question, but a comment. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. And thank you. I listened in with interest yesterday. That was quite the marathon that you all had there yesterday. I did want to reiterate something that we, as a council, had talked about when we first started our budget process, was that The City of Kitchener collects the taxes for the region, the city, and the school board, and we had talked of ways to reiterate to our residents on our website, on our letterhead, envelopes, etc., the tax rates on there, what the percentage that is the cities, the region, and the school boards. I'm hoping that that is something that we're still planning on putting into place to be a very clear delineator, because as we all know, people look at that City of Kitchener tax line and they think it's all us. So really important to reiterate that. Thank you.
I do see Mr. Lautenbach nodding, so they will be working with communication staff on that. Councillor Singh.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, because I know you won't take the credit yourself, but as you presented your update from the region's budget, especially the item for a better tent city, I know this is something you have had advocated with the region for a lengthy time. I'm aware it's not something that had immediate support. It's something that you had to work collaboratively with your regional colleagues to get them to a point to support. And I think a very innovative and I think responsive way that our community has figured out to support those that need it the most. And the fact that the region is moving forward with supporting a better tent city in the City of Kitchener is a huge step forward, and it's all to do with you, and I want to thank you for that.
Thanks for those comments, Councillor Singh, but I'll give the thanks to my council colleagues at the region who recognize the importance of that. Councillor Ioannidis. Oops, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Vrbanovic. Yeah, I also want to continue a little bit about that meeting, as I listened and I watched with very big concerns with where that was going in regards to the increase, because one of the things that, as members of council, we get emails with regards to issues in our community. I didn't even get one email with regards to our budget. Not one. And all the emails I got were all dealing with the regional budget. And the way you handled yourself in that meeting was very, very appreciated of, and as a Waterloo Region resident, I do appreciate all the effort that you did. And I can't thank you enough, because I think it could have went big time sideways, and you definitely steered it in the right direction.
Thank you, Councillor Ioannidis. Okay, so that gets us beyond budget. So now we need to move to talking about the fact that we have an empty seat around the horseshoe. And yesterday, Mr. Chapman and myself, in the early morning, received the formal resignation from Ward 10 Councillor Ashlyn Clancy. That then started the process, and like usual, our amazing city clerk was prepared, because I think I forwarded it to her about, I don't know, 10:15 or 10:30 in an email, and by 11 o'clock, to meet the 24-hour deadline for today's meeting, we were able to amend the agenda to have the motion that's before us on the agenda. Ms. Fusco, is there anything you want to add to it in terms of process today, or simply that you'll be coming back with a report with options for January 8th? Nothing to add? Okay. So does somebody care to move that? Moved by Councillor Singh, seconded by Councillor Johnson. Any discussion? All those in favour? Opposed? That's carried. Move 3 readings of the bylaws. Councillor Schneider, Councillor Chapman. Any discussion? All those in favour? Do we need to move 3 readings separated because of the conflict at all, Madam Clerk, or? Yeah, okay, so we'll deal with the piece that we're confirming that doesn't have any conflicts attached to it. All those in favour? Opposed? That's carried. So somebody want to move the other piece? Councillor Deneau, Councillor Ioannidis. All those in favour? Opposed? That's carried. And so just as we're finishing up for the last meeting of the season, I know that believe it's tonight or tomorrow night is the last night of Hanukkah. And so for those celebrating, those who will be celebrating Christmas, as well as those who will be celebrating Kwanzaa or just the holiday season in general, all the best to everyone from our council and staff to you, as well as wishing everyone a Happy New Year as we welcome 2024. Don't forget I just saw the Spice Girls are going to be here on New Year's Eve. Well, not the real Spice Girls, but so make sure you come out and celebrate New Year's Eve in Carl's Air Square, as well as the New Year's levy on the first Sunday in January. So with that, happy holidays, and the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.